out right 2-0 for them, so they at least got to end things a little bit earlier. But it has to feel good to actually shut things down and get that victory yesterday here. And that gives them new lives. That gives them new opportunities. And that's where you were talking about the opportunity here to try and come back with some conversations to switch things up, to come through with some more energy here. But yeah, very much so looking forward to seeing if those adaptations come through. Wait, we're actually into the action here. Getting right on into our first map of play here. Complexity versus Forsaken here on Vertigo. Again, just kind of walk you through quickly the vetoes here. We're kicking things off on Vertigo to start here. We're going to be following that up, coming through with the map pick of Complexity, I believe, of Overpass, and then we finish things off with the decider of Ancient. So that's the veto for you here as we kick things off in the pistol round. Grim gonna be finding a nice little multi-kill. JT coming through with some extra support as well. JBA, the only one able to chirp up. The reinforcements, the cavalry's arriving both from the front and the flank, but so is Stan. And JBA finding a double kill on the flank, taking care of business. It's just JT somehow. This round's gone horrible in an instant. And Stan versus JT, a battle of the brains here to kick us off here for the first map, as they look to duke it on out.
Oh, we've seen so much impact from both of these players throughout last night. And now, right off the bat, IGL is trying to look for individual impact. Stanislaw trying to pause, trying to make JT second guess himself. Perhaps he could come up the stairs, but Stan, he's sticking to his guns. He's showing himself on Jenny's side. And it's just a raw duel, and it's so close, but JT comes out on top eventually. Dropped 30 kills in that previous series against Forsaken last time on Vertigo. And now kicking it off with the 3-piece here today against Forsaken that pistol. What a start to this series. I'm so excited.
Oh boy, yeah, I mean, clearly Forsaken are coming through with some of that same resiliency that they had yesterday, as they had no business even making that round close. And it comes down to a 1v1 when it was a 2v5 at one point. JBA stepping up here big time, but you got JT with the impact as well, man. Both things you love to see. As, yeah, I mean, no question. It's going to be a fun time here, especially if JT can keep up that performance. When we talk about the matchup versus Forsaken, he was the win condition. You know, believe it or not, here he was the star of the show for Complexity, especially on that T side when things were going wrong. He was actually cracking open the round quite a bit alongside Grim. So, I mean, good to see that he has you know, consistently rising to the occasion here.
Or spy for Forsaken. They don't actually get the bomb down, so it's not as strong as you'd like. It's only that single AK on 60 that should be able to do the most amount of damage. But as far as Complexity's utility goes, they've kind of run dry quite early here. Minute left on the clock. And 60 actually gets gifted over a kill. Halzer cannot complete the kill with the UMP. And they decide to switch hands. Wiz now with that AK. Luckily, everybody beyond JBA armored up now, so they can play hot potato with that AK. Recongregation into that bottom of A ramp now to potentially dissuade this A ramp setup. But Lee just pushed up, and so is JT with first contact.
Oh, long range J1S there. JT having a field day there, and that's the contact play that Liege can play off of as well. AK to upgrade on for Liege. It's absolutely dreamy right there. Beautiful 1-2 punch on that ramp side, and that's JT reading into things very well. That mid presence there contained by a secondary force that stood beside Polzik there early on. JT, again, you see this multi-frag potential over towards that A side, plays it very well, and he continues to do so here. 5-0 to start him off. He's won big rounds for the side of Complexity, keeping that mental in good stead here. That's what you're going to need out of your IGL, because yesterday we witnessed the collapse of Complexity in this head-to-head versus Forsaken, and that's exactly what they're looking to replicate in this series.
Yeah.
As deep utility tossed in.
We can talk about the veto a little bit more, right? And in last night's series between the two teams, it was Vertigo to start, then we had Nuke as the pick of Complexity, and then we ended on Ancient. But after that demolition from Forsaken alongside Warden last night, Full have opted in for Overpass instead, and we've seen the amount of damage that Forsaken could do on that map as well. We talked a lot about the woes of Complexity's map pool and how they don't necessarily have a home map to go towards. They do take a liking to Anubis, but that's Forsaken's permaban. So at this point, they're boxed into playing a lot of Forsaken's favorite maps. So with Overpass in the pool as well, I think Forsaken should be very happy with how things have turned out. They've gotten one of the most played maps in their pool. They get to go back again on Vertigo and try to replicate what they showed against M80. And then they have Ancient to kind of complete the pool out if they need it after showing an 11-1 resilient affair. So definitely be happy, but there's that aggressive ramp take that was so apparent on Vertigo last night.
Getting activated here early, but Hulls with spray. Grim though coming in rotation. JT will follow suit, and the trades as the dust settles will end in the favor of Complexity. An explosive mid battle, a bloodbath there to kick off, but it is going to go in Complexity's way, and like you said here, kind of shaking up Forsaken on this map early on is going to be key here. Because there's a lot more potential here. I think Forsaken going back into this Vertigo pick, like you were saying, they have that opportunity. I feel like they're kind of banking on the fact that JT isn't going to perform like he did just yesterday, right? He's not going to drop another 30 on us, but he's 9-1 right now. So maybe there's going to be a replication of that result. Something that you can't really account for if you're on Forsaken.
And, you know, Halzer hasn't even been activated just yet. He's definitely waiting in the wings to shake things up early on, gets that AWP out to play. But pressuring mid yet again are Forsaken 2-3 rounds now, where they just want to go head-to-head with Halzer. And JBA actually gets a reach through the smoke, but now when the CP spawn, Halzer fighting for the map control here, but can't hold on. Quick switching there to his demise. So much real estate now for Forsaken to work, and now Grim's hot under the collar. There's Floppy going down as well. Look at JBA go.
Stepping in. JBA, very effective so far this game here, looking to match JT's energy. So far, he's got 8 kills of his own. That's going to be Forsaken's first. I mean, they just are really pressing the issue here in Complexity, testing their steel here. It's JT, it'd be good to save onto that rifle, taking care of Stan, maybe. He's getting chased here. It's a oopsie. There you go, back on that A1S. That's a good gun, that A1. So he'll hold on to it. But, yeah, I mean, as I was saying, JT is starting to replicate, but, I mean, that's a risky force buy in general from Forsaken. They didn't really have much utility. They bought a lot of Galils in that round. They still make it worse. So that's the sort of aggressive calling that Stan was going for all day yesterday. And a lot of things have to stay true if Forsaken want to, you know, replicate the results here. It's going to be tough to beat teams like Complexity and M80 back-to-back as well. But you do need to bring in all those same win conditions. The firepower out of Wiz was clear yesterday. JBA and 60 stepping up big time. Infinite with great entries was, you know, all of these factors formulated in favor of Forsaken, and they need to keep that trend true here if they want another opportunity to lock in a position here. The one qualifier spot that NA has here in the IEM Sydney event.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not even talking about the amount of clutches that Stan had yesterday as well. The individual impact that this guy had against M80 was unreal. He was a key reason why they were ahead for so long in that series against M80. That I'd love to see that kind of same impact today. It definitely goes a long way, especially when you have a player like JT on the opposite side of the coin performing as he is right now. You need all hands on deck if you want to go and complete this Cinderella story. Talking about a grueling open qualifier to get here against the North America's best teams. And then the long route through the closed qualifier here as well, only against the best opposition that this closed qualifier has to offer as well. I mean, what a story it would be if Forsaken could potentially pull this off. There's so much room for them to grow yet, but this would be such an amazing start for them. But Halzerk is trying to deny that with a huge opener onto JBA, quelling off that mid control immediately. And now, an instantaneous response for Forsaken, boosting over the stair smoke to try to get themselves in a B.
Trying to get some picks here. Floppy was playing a very good game over towards that B side yesterday. And look to replicate that result there, but broken up by Halzerk with his AWP, and there's Floppy next to fill the feed. The aggression is getting punished here. His tag down right there on the wall being shot. That's a very small angle that he has to work off of right there from Halzerk. Even more damage done. There is no escape for Wiz, and a certain save here for Stan, as that round doesn't really go according to plan. Great lockdown. That's the sort of opening you'll love to see out of Halzerk there. Very mobile. Something that Wiz was doing all day yesterday on Nuke, was just playing all throughout the map. Stan might not be afforded the save with Grim at a pretty nasty off angle here. Oh my god. These sort of fights you just kind of don't believe sometimes, man. Like, actually just pixels away from peeking each other.
Yeah, exactly.
How long do
15
we hold
seconds
this?
left on the clock. Yeah, it's just a Mexican standoff here. Nobody budging a muscle, and Grim finally gives it up.
Oh.
Oh, should have spotted him there, though. 5 seconds
Okay.
left on the clock, and I think they can still congregate on him if they so
Oh, yeah.
choose. But, I mean, Stanislaus should be aware of this. He should be heading for the hills immediately. And luckily, he does get to hold on to this gun. I mean, that's the kind of beatholds that we were looking for from Complexity throughout their series against Forsaken yesterday. Floppy guaranteed 1 or 2 kills, staying alive for as long as possible, and now Halzerk is slowly starting to get activated as well. A nice little 2-piece from him. Tack timeout from Forsaken as that pacier style, on more so on that B side, is not necessarily working out as effective as they wanted to beyond that initial force buy that they had. I think it's back to that A ramp play that they'd probably want to pressure a little bit more. We were seeing aggression from Sixy and an aggression from Infinite to kind of open up that part of the map. Actually, we even saw Wiz opening up that part of the map as well with the AWP on that tail end of Vertigo against M80. I'd like to see that kind of brazen play on the A side of the map as well, because you don't want to let players like JT and Elite get comfortable on that side of the map. It's going to make your life much more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, clearly JT feeling very comfortable on both maps so far. Vertigo that he's played up against Forsaken. His CT side was dominant last night. Halzerk being very fluid with that hop, but he's not going to expect Wiz right there on the peak. That's an easy pick for Wiz. Halzerk's aggression was able to deliver them quite a bit in that last round. Well, this time around, he's down early. JT, though, trying to return the favor and will be able to do so. A big victory right there, but he goes down low. Floppy tagged down as well. And Wiz is looking for another chance here. Lige not going to give it to him, though, as the smoke gets recycled here. That's going to make the job easy, but it's missed smoke. And JT, there is no escape here. He can't get out of this position. And night-night. The wall bangs continue. He won't be able to escape.
4v3 now, as Forsaken finally have a man advantage to be happy about. And again, a recongregation back to this B bomb side. There was a gamble in play from Complexity, and I think they might just retain this as the round progresses. Floppy actually opting in for a double op setup here. Had that on that B side initially, got dinked down it early, but they'll post him up on this A side. Maybe try to pivot over to the B bomb side, but this rotation's a little too late. And with that utility being heard, Complexity are well aware that this round is beyond them, and will just save their guns. Their money is totally fine, but you'd like to retain as many guns as possible while also building that loss bonus up. Single loss after all, and I think they'll be very okay with holding on to at least one of those AWPs and 2 more rifles to boot as well.
Definitely the right idea here to go for the save. Looked for the chances in the future here to work with the rifles. Obviously, like you said, that stack towards that A side, perfectly read by Stan. Continuing with some of the good calls he had yesterday. Felt like a lot of right decisions have been made in the T side. For Forsaken, did struggle a little bit on Vertigo, I will say, on that T side. Again, it was kind of a JT-like clinic over towards that A side, and Floppy was just playing a very diligent anchor game on B. There wasn't a lot of good options for Forsaken on this T side, and it did lead to them digging themselves a pretty deep hole that Complexity were able to close out on. Forsaken now have, again, a chance at redemption on this map here by just playing it right on back, and this time around, they're starting a little bit earlier. Here on Vertigo, getting themselves a fight back here, showing some prowess early. And, you know, gotta give some credit here to Wiz, cracking things open, doing some good work with that AWP. That's certainly gonna help.
Here's that aggressive ramp control that we were looking for. Through the fire and the flames is JBA and Sixy, but No fights early offered up for Forsaken. Halzerk now reaggressing alongside Elige, trying to search for something. This double up on the side all feels risky. And with this extra smoke up, Halzerk is just deciding to peer in on his own. Really dangerous standstill here between Wiz and Halzerk yet again. Ooh, it gets tight here, but Halzerk spots it out first. Angle is just a little too sharp for the Norwegian, and he gets that opening 5v4. Love the little back and forth here, and Halzerk chimes in with another. IGL down, and a huge 5v3 for Complexity trying to convert.
You're gonna have to dig deep right now with some of the individuals here. 60's picked up the op. They're looking to force back Halzerk. But like you said, it's gonna be a fun head-to-head here. Two players looking to duke it out here with the AWPs. Halzerk getting his revenge. That back and forth here going to continue, but a last-ditch effort towards that B side here going to be made. Floppy again going to be up before the task here, avoiding those flashes perfectly, but 60 with a rapid trade there. A lot of damage on his way out, and that's going to be good for Grim to capitalize on. Right on the gap in the smoke, he plays it to perfection.
That's clinical there from Grim, getting the job done, and that's the importance of Floppy. Always guaranteed for at least a kill there on that B bomb site. Flashes go all over the place, but somehow Floppy manages to dodge and weave them. Still nab a kill before he goes down to 60. And Complexity are back to winning ways. Fantastic work from Halzerk to shut down that ramp control after all of that initial utility. And a nice little tag there on the Infinite. Infinite's had a tough start to this series. 0-6 with a Tech 9 now as well in round number 9. Huge amount of impact that this guy had in honestly all of last night. Really want to see this guy come back up into the server, get those insane entries as we were seeing, and have those great anchoring positions that he had on the CT side as well. Still early doors, still an opportunity to improve upon. And Forsaken have nabbed themselves side hall control, at least tarp control.
Gotta take that with some pride there, fighting for those grounds here, but they've actually just continued to stack over Halzerk on this A side to help out in the defense here. It's so valuable to have your opper consistently finding picks here alongside JT, who's playing another great game. Perfect flash right there for Elise to multi-kill. And Halzerk's early damage eventually capitalize. You know JBA, the mid lurk here, consistently bringing that off angle once again, but blasted by JBA, the up-and-coming prospect here, knocking down what was at one time an up-and-coming prospect here in Grim. But it's not going to have too much impact here.
This Complexity looks so much more well-oiled than the one we saw yesterday, right? I mean, Halzerk looks so much more mobile. The flashes to prime Elige in the ramp fights look so much better. And of course, JT still keeping up his individual form is also fantastic. Everything seemingly falling into place right now for Complexity, as they should be able to lock in themselves a 7th, but I feel like we're getting a different Complexity today, and I'm happy we are.
Yeah, I mean, for sure had to do some soul searching there yesterday after their loss. There's no question about it. A lot of discussion, you know, had after that Nouns map, I'd imagine. Or maybe just trying to mentally reset after that Nouns matchup once they close things out, once they, you know, at least start their efforts in the lower bracket. But we kind of did see that collapse come through from Complexity on the CT side of Ancient. There was no question about it. I mean, again, a 1 point up, 1-11 to close out that third map, and you know, only getting one round from there is something that you don't really see all that often there. So you definitely want to come through, get some good night's rest, and we are seeing them a little bit rejuvenated.
For sure.
Just early on in this series here, so that's very exciting. And again, they've made some adjustments, even in the vetoes alone, right? They're avoiding nuke right now, just to maybe try and get a little bit of a better foundation with a map like Overpass versus this team in particular. But even that is going to be a bit of a case, right? We're not sure if that's what we're going to get out of Forsaken, because they're very comfortable here, but uncomfortable is Halzerk out with some utility. We'll be able to shut things down though pretty easy here. Not going to get much resident in the site.
Yeah, there's Floppy again. Double kill on that B site. Halzerk chiming in. Really awkward situation in the middle position there, but still manages to get out scot-free. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The mental reset is so necessary for Complexity. Trying to understand that, hey, we are the favorites within this qualifier. We are destined to go to IEM Sydney, and we've got to play like it. Play with that sort of confidence. And that ancient, that 111 deficit that they dropped was purely a mental thing on their side of things. Of course, Forsaken played a wonderful game in their own right. Stan had some great momentum-based calling, but at the end of the day, Complexity just felt mentally checked out. And if that happens again here, that's just cataclysmic for this roster's development. You'd really hope that they bounce back, and so far, so good for Complexity. Buyout for Forsaken, and again, trying to test this B site, but Floppy has stood so tall here to open up this half.
Yeah, he's been very good here once again. They're just giving over a lot more space. There has some missed smoke there in the mix, so you can see it on top of the wall right there. JT gonna claim one straight through the smoke, so maybe not the most impact just yet, but the boost, it's gonna work out. Grim, a beautiful kill there, elevating his angle. A very fast assembly of that boost. Yet to plant the bomb, but finally punching in the numbers. As the dust is going to settle here on the B bomb site, it's still going to be a 5v3 that they have to fight back from here. Some retake utility tossed in here from the IGL of Complexity, and they're all waiting to kick it into gear with one flashbang to facilitate the aggression here. Avoided by the likes of 60 here, who's able to fire off of the contact of JBA. The 1v3 here for Wiz. It's a little too tall of a task, and Complexity, they keep their composure.
Yeah, I love that little boost to try to jostle up the offense in that post plan, and as soon as that happens, as soon as Grim does get that kill, Complexity actually just pause. They don't try to immediately pounce. They wait for the smokes to fade. They have a couple of flashes in the retake utility. You have JT with the front cubby smoke as well. And as soon as that flash goes, the protocol is to clear out JBA in the back of Jenny. And then the pounce onto that double stack player also worked out just as well. Floppy with another fantastic 2 kills, stays alive for as long as possible. And again, a clinical round there from Complexity. 9 now on the board for the premier North American organization, as Forsaken get the bomb plant, do have another buy in the tank with the full loss bonus. But, I mean, they're not necessarily earning any rounds off of this B site. It just feels like they're kind of hitting a brick wall here, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing Floppy always has is like a smoke to extinguish and play in some sort of forward position, and even when he isn't playing those forward positions, Complexity have some decent protocols to avoid disaster. But again, we're going to see them utilize that smoke. Met by some HEs here, so Forsaken throwing some nice adjustments to try and force him off of the position. And there's one way to handle Floppy. Just bombard him with utility right there. Make sure that he can't play around those smokes to full effect, making his job so difficult. Site now claimed, and this time they're the ones in the advantage here, but it doesn't last long. Grim will pluck 60 straight through the smoke, and an assembly of this boost once more. Bomb yet to cross out of white box here, but they've cut noise. Infinite's taking a forward angle there. What a surprise for Elige. Didn't expect him to be that far forward, and Infinite able to strike for 2 on the board in this round, followed up by JBA. And there's some of that Infinite impact that was glaring yesterday that delivered so much here. Molly to force Infinite out here. He tries to jiggle, but Halzer too sharp on the angle. Is it going to facilitate some aggression, though? I don't know. They're still giving it a try here. So there's still money in the bank. JT going to go in first here. Yup stands beside him. Wiz gives up his fight, but JBA strikes right back with one of his own. But it's just the IGL here to pull the clutch through. Smoke on top of that bomb. It's going to bloom, but he just needs to stick it at this point here. There's no other option. 35 bullets in Stanislaus Galil. He's going to hit the mark eventually.
Does he get to save this, Stan? Yes, he does.
Yeah, that Vertigo bomb's a dud.
No. I mean, fantastic work there from Forsaken to adapt. Floppy has been playing quad on the B site for ages now. I mean, he did it all throughout the last series that they had, and they never were able to get rid of him because Floppy would hold onto his smoke for so long. But yeah, the adaptation, toss a ton of nades into quad and just get rid of him. And it works out this time, and as soon as they get that 5v4, the go button is there, and Forsaken do well to hold on to the post plant. Complexity can't capitalize on another opening 5v4. And Elige actually gets one over this time around. They give away ramp, but they make sure Forsaken get punished in terms of the man advantage.
Yeah, it's the fun adaptations that you get to see when teams start to get a little bit familiar with the styles there. Floppy playing in that position a lot yesterday was something to note, but this re-aggression here looking a lot more promising, and actually Elige having an impactful CT side here is definitely something that we need to see out of Complexity. Great work from him, and the rifling set up for success there. JT and Elige gonna strike in unison, and Elige will cap things off with the 4K right there. Easy does it on the A-site defense, and Complexity hit double digits.
And that's the North American legend we were looking for. Elige has been largely quiet throughout his series against Forsaken yesterday. Essentially a non-factor, but today he's trying to lay down the law on that ramp side. Getting flashed in by JT to take some fights. Sticking himself onto that T Sandbags position as well. And it's working out wonders for Complexity thus far. You'd love for your emotional captain to be ahead of things this time around. And now it's Halzerk's turn to get frisky in mid.
Whew.
Nice little pick on a 60. And there's no trade potential to fight back. But the B anchor in Floppy has been dislodged by Infinite. But there's Legion, there's Grim. Nice dig from JBA to pull things at least close to level. But still a Herculean task to disassemble Grim from this B site. And Halzerk's not too far away either.
Nice shots out of JBA, but they've used nearly all their resources. That's the last smoke out of their pocket. They do pick up the A1S for Stan, though. Maybe that's going to be of value. He does get taken down, and Grim down so very low. Maybe if that kill could have gone their way. JBA will find another one on the exit, but economic damage this late in the half here, not going to be too impactful. As long as you just win the round, Complexity going to be breathing a sigh of relief there. They've certainly been winning these rounds here. 11 is going to be locked in here now. In Complexity, they've set the same foundation that they did yesterday on Vertigo. That was plenty enough, despite Forsaken's effort on the CT side, to really close this one down, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as Forsaken's T side goes, it's a completely different T side today. We had so many slow crawling defaults where they would bleed utility out of Complexity. And we don't see anything of the sort from Forsaken today. And I guess that same level of impact is not coming out of their entries. But look at Stanislaw. He is in CT spawn. A minute 35 seconds into the round. Sure, Floppy's gotten rid of this player, but okay. It looks like the communication's on point here. Elige takes him down, and the crisis is averted. They've given A ramp control again, understanding that there's a hole in the defense, and they've got to go now. But Elige is back into A, and he's had a huge touchdown of a nade onto Wiz. 2v2, the position's noted.
Still so much time, though. I mean, honestly, in the 2v2 right now, with a minute left to work with, it does leave that CT side a little bit concerned, right? Probably going to group up. You're probably going to leave some gaps here. And so for the meantime, Forsaken, they're going to cut noise for just a little bit. Hope that they can maybe spread out the two players here. But now they've made some noise once again. Molly, that headshot box, and Floppy will just peek off there. Taking care of 60 quite easily. Smoke reveals JBA's position as well. Maybe expected him to be over towards middle, but now his position secured here. And he's just looking for an isolated target, but that is not given to him. He's going to have to make a little bit of noise on this dismount. There it is. Bomb recovered. 25 seconds clearing the flank here, but again, time is just ticking against him. There's still a Molotov and Grim as well to toss down range, so JBA, he has to move with a little bit of pace here. There's that molly tossed into perfection right there. It's actually even before he tries to plant the bomb, which is going to buy another 5 or so seconds here. You can see the panic in JBA. He has a bunch of the numbers. They swing for the fences! Ooh. But it's not going to be enough right there. Floppy will land the trade, and we'll close out the half with 12. We'll be back after a short break.
Why is it so hard to let go? Take a chance, touch the sky, and you might just like what you find. Let's risk it all, put it on the line. Go and spread your wings, let's find out if you fly. Let's find out if you fly.
Second half of play here, and we're gonna see Forsaken try and at least claw back like they did yesterday here, but this time they have even more ground to work through here, even more lead Complexity have been able to take here on their CT side. So we'll see if they can recover here, maybe start things off with a pistol. There is so much utility though, again from Complexity. You're bought into this round, 2 full sets from JT and Hulzer. We'll see if that can break past the defense here as they start things off with a nice opening pick onto 60.
That's big. And you definitely wouldn't have wanted your full belt of utility to just get thrown to the ground that early. Taking their lucky stars with that opening pick. Great little nade onto Wiz in sandbags. I don't know if they particularly know that he's here, but this little fake here is doing wonders for Complexity, pulling over a lot of players onto this A bomb site. And Elite is still finding frags here. Grim gets that B anchor kill, and all this fighting on the A side of the map doesn't matter because the bomb has gone down and Complexity have surely locked in their 13th round.
Yeah, that's just a great fake sold by Elise and Grim. I mean, when he started off that second half, right, the guy had like, what, 9 kills in the first 2 rounds on the T side, right? He got the 4K and then the ace on the follow-up round, so another, influential bit of T side impact here. I mean, honestly, again, I only complaint I really saw yesterday from Complexity's T side was actually on Nuke, where they did feel like they were a little bit stagnant, didn't have a lot of that control like we were talking about, over towards like the outer yard and things along that line. But their T side of Vertigo wasn't incredible because they did let Forsaken get back into it pretty easy, but they had the individuals that needed to show up here, and definitely the T side of Ancient was clearly very, very good, as they had 11-4 lead. So Complexity's T side, it really isn't anything to complain about, and especially when you have Grim and Elise, just this powerhouse duo continuing to step up here a little bit closer to JT, who's leading the pack still. It's very promising.
Yeah, but it's much more even, right? This is a Complexity that feels like every player is doing their part. JT finding yet another opening in this anti-force by JT with yet another onto Infinite. That's the B defense essentially eroded away. It's just Stan here left up in this. And Forsaken's chances are quickly dwindling. This is the Complexity that I'm sure all 3 other teams in this qualifier feared. And following yesterday's performance, you'd think, oh, maybe this Complexity isn't that dangerous. But after witnessing their Vertigo here today, this is a team possessed.
Yeah, I mean, again, good night's rest here and a nice mental reset. It can really go a long way, especially when we talk about teams like Complexity sometimes. I mean, I feel like the issues in the server were a lot more mentally than like strategical or anything like that, right? It was just really devastating. I'm sure they were down in the dumps, but new day, new them, and it looks like that could transition into a pretty comfortable Vertigo here, especially if they're able to close out in this 3v5, and they've cut noise here for a little while to spread that defense out more and more. Poor Stan is low with a 5-7 here. We'll see how much he can get away with. Takes an early fight. There's one headshot. Nice attempt right there, as he did land the quick damage on Grim, but as he gets taken down, it's probably going to be Forsaken just holding on to this weaponry and trying for the next round. I feel like at this point you might just be force buying for the remainder of the game, right?
Yeah, I think you're pretty much boxed into that awful situation. No team likes to repeatedly force buy like this, but with such a deficit and nothing really being able to be purchased, you're kind of left with that as the only option. It's either that or give Complexity 15 and try to get 12 in a row with one full buy. I mean, that's definitely wishful thinking. Elite is gonna actually try to take away another gun, and yeah, that's Wiz's scout gone.
Oof.
Jumping UMP. And I think 60 might still be able to retrieve that scout.
No,
A little bit of a spy mission.
mission.
Oh, real tight there, but hold on to the 5-7 and the scout. So, I mean, not the end of the world for Forsaken. I mean, it's still pretty dire straits, but overall, I think as far as Forsaken is concerned, I'd like to just see them stabilize and stay in this game for as long as possible. Their huge selling point out yesterday was just their resilience and their ability to stay within games no matter how big the deficit was. And I'd hope that throughout this, even if this game ends 16-3, that they stay strong heading into Overpass and they still put on a good performance for us as they did yesterday.
I do respect the decision not to go for the full investment here.
Yeah.
They looked really good, you know, when they had rifles out. And even if it doesn't, you know, down 15-3 lead to a full comeback, if they can at least make this one close again and kind of strain the mental of complexity, that can be something to note as well. So maybe there's something to work off of here. If it's not necessarily a map win here on Vertigo, you can at least make them work for it.
I think Forsaken are well aware of the mental warfare that they waged on Complexity yesterday, and how just by staying within the game, that strength can be worth its weight in gold. Nice little kill there for Stanas on the USP, and Stana has offered up another one by Halzerk. But should be essentially all the kills gifted over. There's Grim as well. 15 on the board for Complexity. I mean, with how long the best of threes were yesterday, it's kind of insane to see that we're on map point essentially just 30 minutes after the start of this map.
It's a little bit of whiplash, honestly. Came into this one, I kind of buckled down and strapped my seatbelt in for what very well could be another long day of Counter-Strike, right? And out of the gates, you know, I braced myself, I was ready for the drop, and you know, we might just get like a domineering Complexity like we came into expecting to see yesterday. You know, a roster that has a lot to prove, a roster like we've been mentioning who has, you know, potentially not a lot left in this year in terms of like calendar here. IEM Sydney, if they didn't qualify for this event, it would have been one less S tier event and a remainder of a season with not a lot of certainty of like S tier events other than like Pro League right now, right?
And you'd hope that Complexity can show their faces at Sydney. CS2 is still in the unknown, so a lot of events just kind of shrouded in mystery at this point. Sydney, one of the only definites that could be there from Complexity. Should they convert this qualifier? Great little kill to open up for Floppy. Fantastic jiggles there. Segmenting out that bottom B stairs control. And Stan is still fighting with Wiz, though. Still want to hold on to as many rounds as possible here on Vertigo. Infinite, really the only player left up on this B site. Cavalry is coming, but they've got to speed things up, and they've got to speed things up now.
Infinite, man, was playing a hell of a game on the anchoring over towards B side yesterday on Vertigo, man. We saw the multi-kills out of him on every map. On that CT side, it was an absolute work of art. But Grim is going to start to pull things back. Stan is taken care of over towards that A side. They have left this A side very weakened. Halzerk has to transition in with the bomb, and that can be tricky, but he's just going to risk it, and that's the perfect call here. Some spam through that wall right there could come through, but it's actually not going to connect. Instead, he'll swing for the fences. 60 goes 1 for 1, but Ali's not going to close this one off early. Close it off easy. It's Wiz in a clutch, a 1v2. As we'll see if he can deliver. He gets off that op and onto the rifle, but he doesn't even have a kit to try and get the job done here. So very soon, Wiz, he could be left stranded with not enough time here. Bomb getting towards that half-tick mark, but it's Elise to close things off. A great map from him to kick off the series here. And Vertigo, it goes dominantly in the way of Complexity.
That's the Elige we know, and that's the Complexity we know and love, right? 22-6 from the main man Elige, the newest addition. And of course, I mean, across the board, well drilled performance.